Welcome, everyone. My name is Nina Benoit. I'm the Director of Sustainability at Brightest, host of the AI Sustainability podcast, and keynote speaker on AI and sustainability. For first-time listeners, this podcast talks about all things related to artificial intelligence and sustainability, exploring how AI can have a positive impact on our planet and our people, and what potential limitations or risks we need to be aware of. Today, I am very happy to welcome Colin Bryan. Colin is starting a new role as Associate Director of Applied AI at South Pole and brings a unique mix of experience to the space. He holds a graduate certificate in AI for product innovation from Duke University and has a background in finance, IT, and sustainability education. Before joining South Pole, he served as CEO of the Carbonauts, where he helped mission-driven companies train their workforces on sustainability at home and at work, and led executive roundtables for AI and sustainability leaders at top companies around the world. So, Colin, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited for this conversation, especially because you focus on so much on the practical, operational side of how AI can actually change how we work.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nina. I'm excited to get into it and try to break it down in a way that's easy for people to understand.
Absolutely. So the first question I have for you, Colin, in your previous role at the Carbonauts, you've used agentic workflows and AI-driven processes. For a sustainability professional who isn't a tech person, what would you say is the first step to moving from manual spreadsheets to these kinds of automated workflows?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think just to start us off, I'll define what an agent is in simple terms. So you have your chatbot, which you can prompt, put in a question, get back an answer, or give it some instructions, get back an answer, and it's like playing tennis almost. With an agent and agentic workflow, it actually can take over your computer and do things on your behalf. So you can give it a lot of instructions up front, give it a goal, specify exactly what you want to do, and provide detailed context, and it will go off and execute those things without you having to check in. So it just removes a lot of friction in the process of doing knowledge work, which most sustainability professionals are white collar knowledge workers. So the first step, I think, is understanding what tools you have available in your organization. I'm guessing that most professionals are in larger enterprises, and so there may be an approved tool set and access to these agentic tools like Claude Cowork, or I know ChatGPT just came out with a new one as well. OpenAI released that. So another thing I would say is become friends with the AI department at your company, because if you don't know how to do something, you should be pinging them and asking them, because part of their KPI is probably to enable employees to be using these tools to work more efficiently. And I think with sustainability being a very data heavy job, there's so many opportunities to reduce friction in wrangling data and getting things ready and analyzing things. So you can, start with your messiest work, which is usually manual spreadsheets, and try to throw a chatbot at it first, and then think about, where is there friction? Where am I going back and forth? How could I remove that friction and just give it a bunch of instructions up front, have it run, and then review the output and stay in the loop along the way? So happy to go into more detail about that, but that's where I'd start.
Thank you so much. I think that's a wonderful tip. And I think that indeed sustainability jobs are very data heavy. So there's definitely a lot of potential for using AI. What would you say is the best use case for sustainability professionals to use AI today, based on what you just shared?
Yeah. So when we would teach about sustainability at the Carbonauts, we were careful to use the context of the company that we were talking to, because sustainability is an umbrella term. For example, one of our aviation clients cared a lot about reducing weight, because the more they reduced weight, the less carbon emissions from their aircraft burning fuel. And then we had manufacturing clients that would care about reducing waste. So they wanted to get rid of as much plastic as possible and have a very circular process. So I think when I'm thinking about the best use case for sustainability professionals, you have to tailor it to your context and what's important to your business. I mentioned it's a data heavy job. I think that's the key right there, wrangling the data, and I'll get into that in a second. And then the broader answer breaks down into two parts, I think. It's one, the work that you hate doing that brings you no joy. Look at AI for that, because if you can focus on doing the work that you love and outsourcing the work that you don't like, or at least parts of it, I think you'll find more enjoyment in the work. And then two, the work, the use cases where throwing AI at something to give you better inputs in a faster way or higher quality in a repeatable method could enable you to go from here to here. So that's very broad. Um, in my context at the Carbonauts, I was doing sustainability education, which is pretty different from someone embedded in a manufacturing company, for instance. So I was in charge of selling, helping to manage our projects, closing the books and finance, and then creating processes and documentation. So for sales, an example is I would create a auto update CRM, customer relationship management script, that could pull from my conversations and emails and go out and update our CRM tool with the next step and an update on the deal. So I didn't have to do that manually. It would save me hours each week. Operations, it would create automated documentation based on walkthroughs that I would give new employees when onboarding them. Finance, it would close the books at the end of the month by reviewing our revenue and our expenses and putting it into a model where I could do an analysis. And then project management, it would scan the deliveries that we had coming up for workshops and then send alerts out to the teachers to make sure they had it on their calendar, give them TA documents to prep and all of that good stuff. So that was my context. And so all of those things extended my capability. And so the answer, the best use case is find the things that extend your capability within the approved tool set and be cognizant of data security as well. And that's why you need to be friends with your AI department at your company.
And was there one specific tool that you used to automate these workflows for CRM and so on?
Yeah, so I was a big Claude user, especially Claude Cowork and Claude Code, and then creating skills, which are essentially repeatable instructions that Claude would operate on my behalf. So for the CRM example, I created a skill called CRM update, and I specified exactly in these instructions. Think of this as just an additional file that Claude reads, and it tells Claude how I like to do something. And it would say, okay, look at these tools. These are the keywords, and read this data and put it into this format. Put the date this way, put a colon here, keep it 3 lines, and like get very specific. And all I would have to do is either prompt in the chat, hey, run the CRM update skill from May 16th to May 31st, and it would do it. Or I could schedule it in Claude Cowork, which is an agent, where on a weekly basis, I had instructions to say, run CRM update, go post it in HubSpot, and then report back to me what you updated so I can approve it. So that's an example of like using the chat and then using an agent to do it. And it's the same skill file, just used in different contexts.
Yeah. Very, very good tip. And so you describe yourself as an AI operator for mission-driven companies. What does that actually mean in practice, and how can sustainability teams adopt their operator mindset to solve their biggest data or reporting challenges?
Yeah, so when thinking about this, there are certain buzzwords going around with the advent of AI. Like forward deployed engineer is something you might hear. When I was thinking about going out and freelancing, I was calling myself a fractional COO. But I felt like an imposter saying that. I didn't have a decade of COO experience. I was really good at coming into a company, hearing about all the messy things going on and trying to sort that chaos and give them an output of what they threw at me that was structured and said, here's how I would approach this in a timeline way, and let's go off and execute. And then I would throw AI into that and start picking off the low hanging fruit. And so there were some things I was doing manually, and then some things saying, oh, I could automate this, or I could set up an AI workflow, or you should do this instead with AI. And the term AI operator was something I was hearing. And I thought, that's a little more accurate to what I do, because I come in and help teams organize processes and redefine their ways of working. So an AI operator to me is someone who comes in, embeds into a team, finds the friction, rebuilds workflows, and then proliferates that knowledge and helps the team find that new way of working. And so I stick around and then improve processes as well. So I just don't leave. So I was doing that for a little bit and helping a few firms, and then I brought that AI transformation mindset to the Carbonauts as well. And so to answer the second part of your question, for sustainability teams, I think it goes back to spotting that friction, and we've been talking about it a lot. Like, what do you hate, or what do you wish you didn't have to throw into chat to go back and forth 5 times? Like, how can you get that into an output right away? And so how can you set up a workflow in a new way to accelerate your way of working, especially with audibility and auditability is the word, and traceability, because third-party auditors and sustainability probably need to know where the data is coming from. So keeping that in mind and making sure that you document that data. I would say the last thing is just get curious about what's possible, and don't be afraid to dive into the mess and wait for things to be perfect. You just have to experiment a little. And in closing, like, learning AI is kind of like a toothbrushing problem. Like, you don't brush your teeth once and then you're done, right? It's something you have to do every day. With how fast this technology is moving, I'm not saying you have to learn it every day, but you do need to make an effort to keep up with it. And I find that if you're curious about it and experiment, you get to see that aha moment faster, and then it just kind of snowballs. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, but I hope that helps.
Definitely helps. I'm also wondering, so you mentioned chat and cloud as tools that people can use, but of course there are some concerns as to how much CO2 emissions they're generating or how much water they're using. There's not a lot of data disclosed currently. How do you feel about that? Because of course there are more sustainable options that you can use. For instance, you could think about Green PT, Ecosia, but potentially that would not have agents. So how do you feel about this trade-off between using a very powerful tool like cloud, which is going to be able to do all of these processes, agents, co-work, versus a tool like Green PT, just to name one example?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's very conflicting. It's definitely trade-offs. And I think using AI, you have to right size the tool you're using to the use case as well. Like, using a less strong and capable model for basic work would use less energy and resources. For Green PT, if you don't need to use agents and you just want a general purpose chat tool, that's a better choice. But some organizations, they don't provide licenses to Green PT, and you're kind of stuck with the tools that you're using. And the way I think about it, there's 2 elements of AI. There's responsible AI, and then there's innovative AI. And so responsible AI is figuring out how to use this as responsibly as possible to minimize resource usage. And then innovative AI is, how do we use AI to accelerate climate solutions and be more sustainable? And you can't learn anything without using it, right? I'm saying things here, but it doesn't click until you get in there and use and see it for yourself. So there is a little bit of resource usage that you have to go through just to learn this technology. And my thought is, as sustainability professionals, we need to be at the forefront of AI so we can shape how it gets deployed in an organization. If we can find ways to do things more efficiently and communicate that to the organization and the leaders in our companies, then we are magnifying our impact at scale by introducing responsible usage. So yes, I wish it wasn't as resource heavy. And my hope is that, electricity, like compute gets more efficient and these data centers become assets to the grid over time with flexible power agreements like we're seeing come out with Voltus and Google announcing an agreement. So I'm hoping that we get more efficient, but yeah, it's in the back of my mind for sure.
This is a very good feedback, and I definitely think that we also cannot just stay behind, right, and just not use AI because we think it's sustainable, while the rest of the company is going to use it as at a crazy speed. So it's definitely key for us to understand how to use it and leverage it for a good purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like working with handcuffs almost.
Yeah, in a way, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you also have experience in recruitment through previous experiences. I would be curious to understand, how do you think AI can be used to help professionals navigate the rapidly changing climate job market, which is also a very tricky market right now, especially
Mm-hmm.
for young graduates?
Totally. Yeah, great question. So I've had two experiences with recruitment. The first one was when I was first breaking into climate about 3 years ago. I was working for this company called Fire Up. They do careers for fire, forestry, and land management. And my job there was to build an employer network and then a talent pool and connect the employers who are hiring to the candidates that were interested in getting into these careers. And so I set up an AI matching platform, if you will, with a friend of mine, where we took the open jobs, we took what the candidates were looking for in their resumes, and recommended candidates for the roles and shared that with employers to reduce friction. So I think we'll see more solutions like that to help make that matchmaking process more efficient. And that was a lot of fun working on that. And then on the other recruiting experience was career coaching, and I'm still doing this to a degree with my friend Cam McDonald. We have a little company called the Green Beta where we help mid-career professionals pivot into climate roles. Like I came from technology, and so did Cam, and we wanted to help other people make that switch. And it's pretty difficult trying to get a sustainability job, especially in today's market, when you don't have previous experience. And that applies to the young graduates as well. So we set up a couple of things to help people explore the landscape. So you have to get really specific about what you want right now so other people can help you. And then you have to focus on one thing. So you do your explore phase, then you focus, and then you have to align yourself to that focus area. So, you craft your LinkedIn profile and your resume like you are a professional already working on that space. And then you have to contribute to that field. So that's working on a public facing project. That's hosting events, that's trying to introduce people that you meet in networking conversations and be a connector in that space. And over time, that's how you chip away and get known for working in that space before you have a job. And I think AI can accelerate a lot of those things that I just talked about, those steps, like helping you align your resume to a role, helping you explore a space, like who are the top companies, what people should I meet, helping you prepare for interviews, like taking my career experience and mock interview me and help me make star stories and drill it so I can nail my interviews, and then working on public facing projects. So that's, writing, sharing what you're learning, doing research. That could be creating a software tool, anything like that. AI just kind of accelerates the timeline and can help you stand out. So those are two examples.
Great example, and I think the CV tailoring is a very good example, which I also tell people that I mentor, that it's key right now, especially when AI tool is going to scan your CV. Your CV needs to be fully tailored to the job.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and one more thing I'd add there is don't outsource your human judgment and your voice either. Like it should get you 90% of the way there, but you need to come in with your judgment hat on and edit things and make it sound like you. Because when a resume or writing sounds like everything else out there, people are averse to that and they're going to turn off. So stay human and stay authentic to your voice and your original thoughts too.
Definitely. And this is something I see as well when people apply to work for Brightest and they write motivation letters fully with AI. And every single motivation letter looks exactly the same. It's just so obvious, and that removes a lot of the human aspect of applications. So that's, I think, a very good step to use AI, but then obviously use your human touch.
Yeah, and if I could go on a tangent, Nina, and I think it's really interesting and funny how we're early on in AI, in generative AI in an organization. And we have to spend so much effort trying to show that we're not using AI in certain use cases while leaders are telling us to use more AI. It's kind of funny how that happens. So I'm curious to see how that will play out over the years.
Definitely. And as we look at the future, where do you think the most significant impact of AI in a sector will come from? Will it be coming from large companies adopting it, or rather how individual professionals manage their daily impact?
My gut here says bottom up is going to have a larger impact. So this is individuals using it and then showcasing how much more they're getting done or how much higher quality their work is. It doesn't necessarily have to be volume based. And then their peers will see that and say, "Oh, I have to keep up. How did you do that?" And that's how I think you spread it in the large organizations. Sure, like my role, you can ask me in 6 months how this goes, but coming in and trying to design a training program and saying, use AI and then letting them go, that's not going to lead anywhere. There's so many examples of pilots failing and those mandates failing. But when you come in and show an example, like, here's how I built the CRM update tool, sales team. Why don't you look at this and see if this applies to your work? Or let's brainstorm, like, what gives you friction? And break out into groups of 3 and talk through it and just kind of empower people at the ground level. I think that's how it spreads because the people doing the work actually need to build the things. And yes, there are new opportunities to go to market and develop new products using AI. Like you can just do things more efficiently and react quicker to news and developments and try and anticipate where markets are going. But I think the individuals will drive tools as well. The last thing here is take the AWS sustainability console, right? So Amazon Web Services provides a console where you can see your cloud usage. And because of customer driven feedback, they rolled out a sustainability console where you can see your footprint and the emissions from that cloud compute. And it doesn't break out AI usage yet, but AI is included in there. And that was from individuals doing the work, asking for feedback there. So AWS, top down, they rolled that out, but it was individuals saying we want these tools that actually led to them doing that. So yeah, I'm a big believer in bottom up.
That's a great conclusion, I think, for the podcast for anyone who's listening, who can have a positive impact by reaching out to these companies, ask them for the impact if there's any AI tool that you're using right now or that you wish you could be using if it was a bit more transparent. I think that's a very good conclusion.
Yeah.
Wonderful,
Thanks.
Colin. It has been a pleasure having you here today. Thank you so much for joining the AI Sustainability podcast and sharing your expertise with us.
Thanks for having me, Nina. Looking forward to seeing this when it comes out.
Absolutely. And before we go, I also have an exciting announcement for those of you who are looking to bridge this exact gap between Sustainability and AI. I have launched a new course on Maven, specifically designed for Sustainability professionals who want to master AI. So it's a 3-week course with 2 hours of live classes per week. And you will learn directly from live experts, from industry experts, including myself. So if you're interested in joining us, you can find all the details by visiting my LinkedIn profile and clicking on the website link. And so for everyone listening, if you like this conversation, share it with someone you think would like it as well, and make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. My name is Nina Benoit, and this is the AI Sustainability Podcast. Thanks for listening to this episode, and see you next time.